Today I'm going to show you how to do quick cut B-roll, Edgar Wright style. Here are a couple examples from his films Shaun of the Dead and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Come on!
Every single shot is over in less than a second, and just set some context as to what's going on in the film, where you are. These guys are police officers, obviously. This example is from Edgar Wright's film Hot Fuzz. Today I'm going to show you how to do your own quick cut B-roll sequence, all in post-production using Final Cut Pro. Here's an example I made. How I made that sequence of hand washing. So all I did was literally, I changed my timeline here by pinching in and out on my trackpad. The reason I did that is because I want to find my clips and make sure that none of them are more than a second long. And you can see that as it jogs along, it does all the zooming in post-production. You can watch all the sliders over here, sliding in, sliding out, zooming in on the soap pump. I have added a sound effect, and again, sound effects for washing the hands. Another one for the towel drop. I didn't do any zooming there. And more flag sound effects for drying the hands, and then sort of a bell sound at the end. So how did I do that? Okay, so I've dragged a clip in from my Finder here, and you can see right now it's maybe 6 seconds long. I can tell because I've clicked the clip here, and then it'll tell you that selected clip is 6 seconds long. I want to get it down to 1 second, and then I'm going to edit it. So the way I like to do that is I stretch out my timeline. I do this by pinching out on my trackpad, and basically I want to be able to see 1 second stretched out along my timeline. And then I just look at the thumbnails down here, and I can see, okay, so I'm going to cut my clip just before he reaches for the light and cut it right afterwards. So I'll say maybe here between this second and this second is the part of the clip I'll use. So I'm going to grab my blade tool. I can do that by clicking here and going down to blade, or hitting B on my keyboard. And then I'm just going to jog along here. Maybe I'll click here first just to make sure it's perfect. B for blade, and cut my clip there. And I'll jog along over here, and I'll cut it this second. So now let me just drag along the timeline. Yep, everything I need to see happens in there. We see the light switch clicking on. Now I'm going to delete the parts I don't need. That part and this part. So now I've got this part to work with, and I'm gonna start zoomed in on the light switch, and then we're gonna zoom out as we go. So depending on the clip that you choose, you might choose to zoom in or zoom out, or not to zoom. But the whole point of these quick cuts is that no clip should last more than a second. All right, I'm gonna click on my clip, and I'm gonna add 2 keyframes, one for scale. That means I'm gonna be changing the size. One for the position, because I might be repositioning it. I'm going to start off by zooming all the way to 400%, and I can just literally grab the scale all thing and drag it, or I could go over here. I could even go beyond 400% if I want by clicking in the box and then scrolling upwards. I'm going to change my X position a little bit so that that light switch is centered. And that's where we'll start the clip. Then we see our hand come in, and I think by the time the switch hits up, we want to be fully zoomed out. So boom, it's zoomed up. So I'll drag my slider to where I want that change to be complete by. And then I'm going to add those 2 keyframes again, one for scale and 1 for position. And again, I can just drag these sliders, or I can click and type 100% here, and I'll change my X position back to 0. Again, I really like in Final Cut Pro how I can click in these boxes and just push up and down with my mouse. It makes it really easy to reposition. Okay, so by that point, we want it back there. So now as I drag back, you'll see it dramatically jumps from the light switch, boom, to turning it on. Okay, so what's the next part in setting up this scene? So the next part in setting up the scene is, first one, switching on the light, next is switching on the tap. So then I grab my tap clip, I drop it here, I find the second of video I want, so I want the part where he actually turns on the tap. So I'll scrub back here, and I'll start by cutting it right there just before we see his hand. And then I select this part, delete. Now we'll say we want about 1 second of the clip. You'll see this is kind of like a ruler. So there's 1 minute and 21 seconds there, and then over here is 1:22, and it goes a bit beyond that. So now we don't want to cut in until the part where the water's on. So now you'll see this clip goes on a little longer. So I'm going to cut my clip here. Cut, A, delete. Now we have to fix this clip to make it shorter. So just like last week when we looked at retiming, I'm just going to scale down a bit. We're going to make some of this happen more quickly. So some of this is happening too fast or too slowly for my taste, so we're going to use the range selection tool. We'll select a chunk here in the middle and use some speed ramping. Maybe to about there. So modify, retime, and we'll say fast, and we'll make that 2 times as fast at that point. And now, let's see, let's play it back. And now we'll do our zoom. So let's get, we'll start by being zoomed out this time, and we'll zoom in. So again, I'm going to go back to my select tool, click. I'm going to put a keyframe at the start for both position and scale. I'll drag to the end this time, and now I'm going to zoom in. So just as the water turns on, we want to be zoomed in, so maybe, or just as it starts to turn on. So I'll click here. I'll add a keyframe again for scale and position. And now I'll do my zooming in. So I'll just drag this way, and I'll drag my X position to here. Just like that. Now when we watch it back, boom. Boom, we're turning on the water. Just like that. Now of course we can play with our timing here as well if we want. And see what it looks like. Pretty good. All right, so that's how you do it. You find 1 second clips just shot on your phone. I recommend filming at 4K, as high quality as you can, so that when you do this zooming and you create your video at 1080p, it still looks pretty great.
Here is that teeth brushing clip finished. And here's one last shot from Edgar Wright's film, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.